This is Justin Arnett Graham.
This is Nariba Shepherd. And this is
Terms
Terms
of
of Service.
Service.
That was lit.
Nice. That was
Listen,
nice.
I
That was
think
nice.
I think that waking up at the crack of ass in the morning is the move. Just kidding. I don't get it.
I feel like it is. I feel like it is a move versus the move. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm open to doing it again. I don't know if I'm open to doing it consistently, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good.
Ashley's hitting us with a thumbs down in the corner.
Okay,
it was
got
pretty
it.
great.
So full thumbs down on
Yep.
that. But again, I'm feeling good.
Mhm.
Nuiba, how are you?
I am feeling a little crazy right now, but I
Okay.
think it's because of being awake since 5,
That's
and
fair.
it's now afternoon.
This is fair, or close to noon.
No, it's 12:07.
Okay, got it.
It
So
is
it's now afternoon. We're in
Yes.
the afternoon time. Okay, so,
But I'm
yeah,
excited for today
same.
because it's wine day.
Yes, it's Champagne Day,
Yes,
actually. Because
specifically.
we have our dude here. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Philippe Andre, also known as Neeksam. Thanks for coming through.
Yep.
Yes.
This makes me so happy because one, I love you,
Mm-hmm.
and you know this, and we've known each other for a while.
Been through the wire. Absolutely.
Yeah, through the wire and over international waters together.
What? Where'd you guys go together?
So we were going separately.
Yes.
But then we ended up being on the same flight, connecting, like full, kind of itinerary sharing on our way to Cuba, specifically Havana.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it was amazing. And another random but brilliant fact is there's like no cell phone service. Like we know this as just visitors, and so there are pockets of, what would you say, questionable Wi-Fi.
Correct.
Yeah, and so it was maybe 2 days into the trip. We were, myself separately was at this like hotel somewhere, and I just happened to look to the side, and I see this man walking through the lobby of the same hotel. We didn't coordinate any of this, and I mean, it's Cuba.
It's meant
Yeah,
to
it's
be.
Cuba.
It was
meant to be.
so meant to be. And we ended up having this beautiful rooftop dinner just in Havana, and it was amazing. Well, what was that?
That
little
doesn't do it
Spanish
justice.
guitar? I know. So I'm gonna.
That does not do it justice.
I know. So I need you to help me paint this Bob
There's
Ross
pictures
picture.
on the gram.
Yeah, I mean, it was just.
But yo, when we going back?
When will they let us?
When will they let us?
Actually,
Yeah. Going.
Can we do that? Are we allowed? Can we keep that sample, please?
So Nariba always wants to sing, and we'll figure it out. Nariba, just do what you feel, and we'll figure it out.
I
in
just
editing.
want to be free. But I can't because we ain't got no money.
But
Yet.
we're gonna figure it out. Those licensing fees, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Heard.
it's all good. So thank you so much for joining us. We talk about a whole bunch of shit today, but specifically, kind of shedding a light within the wine perspective of the hospitality industry. And you, my friend, are such not only a personality, not only such an identity, but a force within the industry that I just want to get into it.
Yeah.
And also drink some champagne,
But
and
also-
some spirit-free offerings as well.
Before we go too far into this.
Yeah.
People have heard me butcher this name every other episode. So I need for you to say it out loud so that it could never happen again.
Yes. So my name is Philippe Andre.
And you represent whom?
Charles Heidsieck Champagne.
One more time at the end there.
Charles Heidsieck Champagne.
Heidsieck.
Heidsieck.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you so much. I will put that in there and it will
Boom.
never leave. But my second question is, when were you born?
I'm an 84 baby. Yeah.
Now we need the date.
So I'm January 27th of 1984.
That
There you
high
go.
Aquarius
Yes.
energy.
Aquarius.
It makes sense.
Let's
Yes.
Let's go, y'all.
Yes.
I like to
yes.
call them Aquaries because I feel like they're the Aries of air signs, but
Yeah.
that's just me being an Aries. Yes. So everything speaks of Aquarii, 110%. So thank you for repping with the ones and twos, and also like doing what you're doing and like bringing a different sense of what being a som or being amongst the wine people. You're doing it differently than we are used to seeing it, and that's very Aquarius energy, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It means the world to hear that. I saw and I've seen how it's been done for a long time, and I had a lot of privilege growing up, and my parents encouraging me to be myself and giving me a platform to be proud of being different. And I'm here for it, you know, and
we're here for it with
right.
you. Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's go.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. Where are you from, friend?
Yeah, born and raised in Evanston, Illinois, about 20 miles north of Chicago. Yeah, so it's where it all started. My father, my biological father, was from Haiti. He passed away when I was very young, but my mother met my stepfather, who is the chef and owner of Oceanique Restaurant in Evanston.
Beautiful.
So I grew up with a chef or a pops, and wine and cuisine was always that's like our religion. So every Sunday, our restaurant was closed, and instead of going to church, we were going to restaurants, so
Different Sunday service.
it
Yep.
literally is
Yeah.
that's what I grew up on, and it's just it's part of my identity and our culture as a family.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Look at these Caribbean bodies sitting here being all Caribbean.
Right.
I'm just, always looking for a fun slip of my accent into the regular situation going on here today. Thank you so much for bringing it out.
There we go.
Okay. And so like growing up with your like Sunday service restaurant journeys, where would you say the line started to blur between family and this being part of like what you want to do?
Yeah. So I went to school to play sports and realized quickly that wasn't the right place for me. That was one of the first moments where I ever experienced like brutal racism, and it was really hard to go through that in that setting. I literally walked away from my love, which was sport, because I didn't feel welcome and I didn't feel supported or safe. So that changed my world, and it took me years to look back and think about that. As a college student, I was a freshman, and here there was a situation that happened, and then I didn't know what to do other than walk away from it. So I came back from school, and I needed to get a job, and my parents were like, look, if you're going to live here, you got to work. And so they put me to work at the restaurant, which I'd worked at on and off throughout my my young adulthood. I guess you could say. I think I was 11 the first time I worked at the restaurant. Maybe.
I mean,
A lot of that going around.
So, born into it, it just takes a whole nother level. But what I loved about the experience and my time working at the restaurant when I was very young, and more importantly, at the very beginning of my professional career, is that I didn't have anyone really judging me. And I had an opportunity to really be myself, and more importantly, work with a team and learn. And my pops invited me to start tasting wine with him after service. So he was the buyer. So he's the chef, owner, accountant, dishwasher, wine buyer, sommelier, all at the same time while working the line every single night.
That's some like OG chef shit. I know that life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just gives you a little glimpse into what I grew up with, because a lot of chefs don't understand wine, and a lot of chefs are intimidated by wine. But my pops is like, yo, wine has to be a part of our experience, because for me to offer the best dinner, I have to have comparable wine at the same time. So this was my teacher. And more importantly, he let me, kind of run with it. And I found myself after probably a good year or so of tasting with him late night while I was bussing tables and, hosting and doing valet, that I felt confident that I could speak what I was experiencing on my palate, and asking questions of the, the importer or the distributor or the winemaker. And next thing I know, I'm on the beach, like reading about wine all day long.
Yeah.
And it's consumed me. I literally was reading about wine, going to wine shows, wine tastings, doing everything I could to absorb this information that was so fascinating to me. And I saw the restaurant and like the service aspect of it as a way for me to connect with people and use wine as a language, like a love language, essentially, of hospitality.
Hot damn.
I feel that. I feel that a lot. I will say that I didn't know shit about wine until I started working in Chicago, because up until that, I was ride or die with my homeboy Carlo Rossi in that jug out here. And
Size matters.
And my whole thing
Yeah.
was like, in college, my thing was like, if it comes in a glass bottle, it's better, ? So when I got into food in Chicago, I like stumbled into fine dining, and everyone was like, wine this, wine that. And I'm like, I like Captain Morgan, and I read. That's like where I was. And then after 8 years of working in the city, I feel like I've come full circle where I appreciate really good wine, but I'm also like, but you see they got the mini jugs of Carlo Rossi? Or like box wine. We've come full circle. I live with a mom and 2 children, so we're now box wine people again. Because
That's
I'm on a
fair.
budget.
Well, and I also feel like you can, you have to be able to know what bad wine is to appreciate good wine.
We all started somewhere,
right.
and no shade on that either. I mean, I think just because, your route of entry is different than others doesn't mean that you're not on all the same path. And I think that's a lot of issues that I have with our industry that I saw at an early age, is that there was this exclusivity that was so pretentious and so off-putting that I wanted to dismantle it. And I wanted to say, no, we're here for the love of it. We're not here to talk down to people. And so whether you start with your boy Carlo or you start with that yellow tail, I mean, just it's a start, right? And we all are putting in that work. You want to learn about yourself through the glass. Nothing better you can do than pick up a glass and try.
Exactly.
That's where we start.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And since we're getting started.
Do you want to talk? Okay, so I got you. Right in front of us, we have a lovely take on a French 75 NA, my dudes, featuring our buddies over at Athletic Brewing with their Golden Ale, paired with a NA Chardonnay, vanilla extract, and force carbonated. Finished with our other homeboys over at Ritual
Beverage.
Ritual Beverage.
Yep, right here in Chicago.
With a little, what is this called?
Like a
Expression?
Yeah, lemon expression, a lemon tweel, if you will. Oh, yes.
Flag.
Flag.
Oh,
I'm like,
flag.
what are
let
you
your
saying?
flag fly high. I say with
It
this
is
one.
refreshing and delightful.
And
I love the texture too. It's like slippery.
Yes.
yeah. This is.
Yeah.
It's
really
fizzy
pretty.
yet smooth. It's
And
giving.
the acidity it's not acidic, but it has that citrus like presence. The oil is doing enough.
Yeah.
And I think that it's shocking that there's beer in here. I do. Spirit-free beer in here.
Damn.
So,
All right.
shout out Ashley Christine of Garnet for another delicious creation.
Doing it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess the base question is, what do we need to know about wine?
Oh man, I think.
I mean, yeah, let's just.
I
Start
know
there,
that's
right?
a big base question.
How much time you got?
How much time is on that memory card, Max?
Not enough.
We only have 32 hours.
Okay, got it. Okay, so yeah,
So hour
Begin.
number one.
yeah.
What we need to know about wine is that it's made by people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would encourage everybody to do the work to research as to who those people are and support folks that you enjoy and that you want to celebrate. I think that's where it all starts. This is a man-made product that, yes, there is many people would say divine intervention into it, but ultimately these wines, and more importantly, the product is built on the backs of people who are hardworking and passionate. And do yourself a favor to find those people out and support them.
I just want to go to, people want to travel all over the world, and I just want to go to places that are known for their wines to be a basic bitch. And
and that's okay.
I
that is okay.
So
yeah.
no, I want to go and learn the things, but I also want to wear a big hat and walk around a vineyard and ask a million questions and be mistaken for an American. That's what I want to do. And I think that only happened because I learned so much about wine from doing tastings. And okay, secondary question, what is proper tasting etiquette?
Proper tasting etiquette is not to spill and to make sure that all the wine makes it into your mouth.
Yeah.
Because people are out here spitting stuff out, and I didn't know you were supposed to be doing that the first 9 wine tastings that I had.
Yep.
I
So-
just say do how you feel.
I just ended up at White Castle a lot.
So what I recommend, and this is something my pops told me back in the day, is try everything first, a little sip, and then when you like what you like, go back and drink more of that.
Okay.
So don't try to drink a whole glass of every wine, especially when you're in an environment where you have 10 or 20 wines. That's not possible, in my opinion. But try everything. Ask questions about the wines. Try to remember one thing about that wine that is different for you or something that you didn't know about. And I think of it either the history, where it's from, or how it tastes to you. I'm a very visual learner, so I like to take pictures of bottles just so I can remember. And then if I want to do the research, I'll go and look it up. But I think ultimately it's moderation, and then let's go and find the one that really compels you to have another sip.
I like this. I just want to take a minute or two to sort of make wine seem less scary to a lot of people, because a lot of people are intimidated by how much knowledge there is about wine and champagne. And I think that it's better for someone who is a professional to be giving that information before we slip into
The deeper
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in an age where the consumer, and I think people, our society, craves information. There's so much detail about wine in terms of how it's made, where it's from, and why is it different. For instance, in Champagne, where our winery is, there's a long list. It's like a phone book of how to make wine in the region legally. Now, that seems very overarching and very draconian. Those rules are there to make sure the quality level is really high. And there's still, within all those rules, a lot of ways to fuck up. And there's a lot of ways to do your own thing. So I think what's incredible about our industry is it very much is a canvas for an artist and for someone's, passion and history. And that's being defined in a glass every time you open the bottle.
And that's it.
Okay.
Snaps,
Upright.
snaps. All of that. I'll say that my experience within the wine world was just, enthusiast, to say the least. I began really, acknowledging the craftsmanship and the passion and the integrity behind wine when I was in the Michelin starred world. But I will say, because that's such a institutional pillar that we're all familiar with, the way that the information and the education was presented was always that of privilege. Like it should be, thank you for asking, but you're welcome for me to tell you.
Yeah.
And I was able to kind of navigate that because I was within it, but outside of that community, I wouldn't even know where to begin. And just being within, the trade show environment and being able to talk to the representatives of these wines, or specifically the winemakers from these brands and these estates, it was wildly eye-opening because anytime I remembered that brand or that estate, I thought of that person.
Yep.
And there's that disconnect between like the hospitality industry and the community and the culture as a whole.
Yeah.
So
for sure. I mean, I think you could say that knowledge is power, and there's definitely value in these nuggets that you pick up as a professional. What I always was disheartened by is, to your point, the consumer is lost. And you could have somebody go to the store and spend $40, $50 on a bottle of wine, get home, open it, and be like, this is trash.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got.
Yeah.
And then now they're like, well, I'm just going to have a beer, or I'm going to make a cocktail.
Yeah.
And now we've lost that person who deserves to have their place in the wine universe, right? So as a professional, I found it, as like my duty to help open people's minds to things that they didn't even know they liked, or more importantly, that like they didn't even know were available or out there. And so, yes, we had the ultimate privilege of being able to meet the producers and the importers. And so that's why I think it's so important that professionals speak up about, their experiences, and more importantly, what is exciting to them, to hopefully encourage others to explore on their own, not just to rep and like totally like grow a community around a specific wine or region, but to encourage other people's exploration. I think that's our job, is to inspire people to find their way into our universe, not just tell them that this is the only way in our universe.
And that right there is absolutely beautiful, because a lot of the time, the idea of, just having it be on a fundamental level, wine service, there are so many appropriate steps of service to ensure enjoyment, performance, etc.
Yep.
But it's like, if you don't leave the individual that is enjoying, whatever you pour them in the glass with that curiosity to keep that going, then, I mean,
have you done your job?
Yeah, you didn't do your damn job.
Yeah.
And to have that you're welcome mentality is crazy, because I have worked with sommeliers in the past to where they would hoard information. And I'm just like, I can read that same goddamn book. Okay? I mean, I really can. And I probably did, because it's part of my job. So what are we doing?
That goes back to the whole thing of like leaving people underprepared so that you can like keep your place in the hierarchy. And I think
Privilege, y'all.
Yeah, it's privilege.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's, as soon as I realized that you're only making it better for yourself, because if more people know what you know,
Self-serving.
you don't have to I don't want to say work as hard, but like you don't have to worry when you're not present that it will be done. Like it's not about us. It's about the information that we're putting out there, and like literally opening up someone's knowledge of beverages also helps us in that they will be seeking out things that they wouldn't necessarily be doing on their own, and put in that cash money in our pockets.
Right. Well, I feel like that is a perfect segue into just some realities of some shit out here. Because I feel like the architecture of the wine world is extremely anchored in legacy and preservation versus progress. And there is a well-regarded organization that, you know, claims to support some of the best within the wine community. And it's disheartening and it's frustrating, but also it's not surprising to hear news of intimidation, sexual harassment, potential racial bias. I think that wine specifically in the industry is like a closed sector because people see the brand and they see the performance. They will also go to a vineyard, and you know, vineyards are gorgeous. The estates are absolutely gorgeous, but it is a laborious process. And there's such a disconnect there, you know, and it's like, how do we, there's a lot to unpack there, but like, how do we start having that conversation to where it's just like, first and foremost, fuck all that bullshit, but then secondly, start holding those accountable for that. And there's been news of well-regarded sommeliers wanting to send back their pin to this organization. And that is a step in the right direction, I feel, because you want to distance yourself from that. But also, the wine world, it's very white. It's very white. And just for me going to trade shows and people that I have spoken to, it's been very dismissive. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on perhaps any experiences or things that you have witnessed about racial bias in, like, within the wine world.
How much time do we have again?
I think we got like 31. Yeah.
31 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at 31 hours. So hour number 2, racial bias in the wine industry. Well, I think the bias, first of all, starts and comes from our society as a whole. So to say that it's not there in the first place just, you know, shows where we're at, and it shows how deep-seated this bias is. So to say that it's not in our wine industry is also, again, another layer of this deep-seated bias. Our industry is about money, you know, it's as with all. And, you know, when you walk in the room and you don't look like everybody else, the assumption is you don't have any money. And so the privilege of being able to taste, to be able to have access, to be able to have the treatment and service that someone who potentially does have the money or is being seen as that has the money, that's the reality. That's what we're fighting with. So were there experiences that I had where people looked at me differently and, you know, probably assumed that I didn't know what I was talking about? Absolutely. Even in my own restaurant, I had people asking me like, could you send the sommelier over? Or, you know, there's no way that you could possibly even know this wine. You can't possibly have told me that you've had this wine because it's $1,500. And it's like, okay, all right. So yeah, great. Now we know where we are, you know, but you're in my house. Yeah. So just want to point that out.
Right. It's like you came here, so madam.
Exactly. You know, so there were a few others that inspired me to keep pushing for change, but more importantly, to be proud of being different in the industry. I know there's a lot that had to struggle to get to where they were for the time that I saw them. But I think, I know that we've heard and I've seen experiences where, you know, you go to a tasting, a trade show, and the winemaker doesn't tell you everything about the wine because they assume you don't know enough, or that you wouldn't be in a position to even buy the wine. So they just instantly kind of, you know, give you the short information, or they
focus their attention elsewhere.
They focus their attention to the person next to you because they're the ones that, you know, probably have a more opportunity to buy their wine. So, you know, those are obvious examples that have happened. You know, I think, I'm sure there are many, many more. I mean, I've had a situation where I had a potential employer tell me after an interview that while I was clearly qualified for the job, they couldn't stand or believe in me being the face of their brand because of the way that I looked, frankly.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
And this is a brand that heavily markets towards very wealthy African-American people. You see NBA players,
the
NFL
eye
players
contact, you know,
that are celebrating this brand and this product. And I was being told by the brand director, you know, essentially that, well, we'll never let somebody with dreadlocks be the face of our brand. And
Excuse me, as someone that is sitting here with dreads right now, plenty of brands hit up people with dreads.
Right.
Trust me.
so that for me was a really tough experience to have. And, but you know, I can't let those things slow me down. What I hope is that those brands see me now and be like, oh shit, we fucked up.
Yeah.
You know,
Hell
and,
yeah.
As much as I want to put their name out on the street, it's also our job, I think, to pick folks up when they fall and to move on
point.
and to be greater. At the end of the day, you know, yes, that was horrific and that was scarring, and I will never forget that feeling of being told that. But at the same time, like, that's not disrespectful about the quality of the brand or the history behind it. Like, that's just one person's, you know, little minute take on it. And when you think about a brand that's been around for centuries, like that one instance and that one person, that means nothing to me. And we're going to move on beyond them. And hopefully one day that brand will have somebody in a position to make a decision on a candidate like me or candidates different. So I see that as an opportunity for me to make a difference in the industry by showing how it can be done. And more importantly, showing that we can do it better than y'all.
Damn right.
Flat out.
I mean,
Round of applause.
Yeah, hell yeah. I gave up a
Let's
whole
go.
major
Yeah.
in college
Yeah.
because of that. So shout out to you for doing that.
And that reminds me of the aesthetic of wine. So if I could rewind just a brief moment to trade shows.
Mm-hmm.
First trade show I went to, you know, just feeling myself. I was like, oh, okay, like I'm up in here.
we here.
You know, like we downtown now. It's a nice afternoon. You got cheeses and shit everywhere. It's
And
nice.
it's free.
It is free.
It's free, y'all.
And it's for me.
Yeah.
So this is great. And I had on this dope cardigan and, you know, a pair of I think like slacks or whatever. And all I know is that I ended up being pulled to the side from someone that I do know now. Just like, oh yeah, you know, Justin, you're gonna be going to these all the time. It's like you have to look as if you're like running the shit. And it does not matter who you are, it matters who they think you are.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was rising through the ranks within this Michelin world, and every single time I would show up in there, I'd have my little ascot, I'd have like my tailored blazer on.
I seen you.
I know, and you felt me because I mean I was out there, and my experience was wildly different from the first time.
Yep.
You know, there are, I don't want to call them friends, but certainly acquaintances that keep up with me now that, I mean, never would have looked my way on the first time that I saw them, because I remember the first time I saw them. I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you. Not you, but them who are listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's just that.
I mean,
And that's a form of, you know, just minimizing, you know? So
for sure.
Yeah.
And I noticed that right away when I started working on the floor, is that I needed to have my armor. I needed to have my suit.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that every time I was on the floor and I was like, okay, I've got Tom Ford in my breast. Like, yo, you want to talk about business right now? We're talking, you know, we're not messing around here.
Yeah.
And I think it empowered me to feel confident about what I knew, but more importantly, to confirm to the guests that, like, they're here for the right discussion. You know, we're not talking about, you know, Chilean Bernardo. We're talking about Chateau Petrus. We're talking about Romani Conti. Like, that's what we're talking about today.
Oh shit.
If you want that other experience, there's another restaurant that we can go to.
Exactly.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking business tonight.
Yeah.
You know, we want Montrachet. We're not talking Montrachet. We're talking about Montrachet. Like, let's
I
go.
feel fancy by listening.
Yes, Montrachet. Yes.
I was gonna say, like, my whole thing is back of house life. I've always been told by white men that I have the confidence of a white man.
Mm.
And I think that
Yes.
is how I have been able to make it through the industry is like people look at me and think that I'm not going to know the things that they're talking about. Or like literally I've worked where I'm like the chef on duty and they don't believe me when I say that this fish that looks like salmon is in fact ocean trout.
Yep.
And they ask for someone else to
Yep.
come
To
and
go
like, do
and
the
tell
thing.
them the same thing that you
Yeah.
just
Yep.
told them.
And so like I think a lot of what it is being a person of color within the like finer aspects of the industry is trying to make a space for yourself, but also like we're not doing it on purpose, but we're breaking down stereotypes
100%.
of what
Yep.
people think. And that like passive work is still labor.
Yeah.
You know?
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Constantly having to
exhausting.
know more than like people
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah. Well,
Even-
and that's
Yeah.
that's what helped fuel my personal experience within the wine world, because as many different sommeliers that I know, they all look like they're in the same family.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
and to be able to hold conversations in those spaces, obviously we're friends, but I mean, it's not just your club.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not just your cultural club here.
Mhm.
And as a black gay man, being able to talk to you about these different regions and these complexities and these histories of these different estates, it kind of makes you tilt your head a little bit and be like, oh, well, I guess they can retain the same information and commit to the craft such as I.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful to be here.
I'm
But
glad,
damn
I'm
that.
glad I earned your approval.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. You know, and round of applause on that. Like it's ridiculous. But so I just touched on it briefly, but you know, representation in the wine world. You know, what is it? I mean, I feel like it's virtually non-existent on a mainstream level. It's more so from an industry perspective. You know, like I know POCs in the wine world because I'm in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are always going to be gatekeepers in our industry, and a lot of those gatekeepers don't look like us. So that's another barrier that I'm trying to break down, is that, you know, if I can give access to my wine, my region, or to any other, you know, prestigious wine, that way I can encourage folks to feel more comfortable and welcome. And also at the same time show that, again, like I said, we can do it, but we can also do it better than you, because we're going to be much more authentic with how we do it. And I think people gravitate towards authenticity.
Yes.
Yes.
And when you see the same thing over and over again, it's homogenized. That for me is like, I'm changing the channel.
Yeah.
So I want to see something different. I want to see something exciting. So let's show them.
Would you say that when you walk into a space, do you already curate that with the fact that you drip so hard?
Yes. And cheers, air cheers to what you just said. And also cheers to this drip. Okay. Because your style is absolutely ridiculous, and we're not going to talk about your style without including our wonderful producer Max, because we believe that he just found his new style icon.
Yes.
100%. For those of you who want to take a journey with me, go look up some past editors of Vogue.
Yes.
Specifically Andre Leontali, who it's all over the place. I love it so much. But to paint a picture for our listeners, let's start with the ground up. We got the pink beige Yeezys.
Yes.
Classic. We got the Ferrari sweatpants.
Yes.
Love it.
Hype.
We've got a smoking jacket that's
You
quilted.
damn right.
God damn
Inside,
right.
outside
Ooh.
wear.
Incredible.
Yes.
what looks like a paisley pink and blue ascot.
Oh, I
Versace.
didn't even.
Sorry, it's Versace.
Versace.
I don't know nothing about that.
So we talking business.
Business.
There we go.
We've got fox. What is the scarf?
Yeah, this is actually a raccoon.
Love
Oh,
it. Love
yes.
okay.
It's got tassels. It's amazing.
It's
The glasses.
The eyewear
Gorgeous.
really
The
wraps it
eyewear.
all together
Yeah,
for me.
it is
You
a
know?
presence. It is
Beautiful.
a mood. It is a moment, and we thank you for bringing all of
Yeah,
that.
for real.
Yes.
I brought out my fancy loungewear.
I wore a
for
color today.
You did wear a color.
I'm
This
in
is a
black
color.
all the
All the
time.
time.
Yes.
All the time. But here I am, knowing that I had to do something a little different, a little
Yes.
special. You know, I'm there.
Again, just to
but
paint
we're
a
gonna
picture.
get there.
The color Justin is wearing is beige.
Yes, well, thank you so very much for the clarification that we did not ask for. But anyhow, thank you so much. So to continue,
Well, I mean, I guess
Yes.
the point to touch on that. Thank you for the shout out. Again, I learned at an early age that people judge the fuck out of you how you look. So if you're gonna look at me because I look different than you, then you're gonna really want to look deep. And I'm gonna show you layers after layers and layers, and that's gonna give you a little glimpse into my world. And so if if you're gonna force me to wear that suit, then I'm gonna show you what fucking suit looks like.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about fashion. It's another way for me to project my personality.
and that's how we're doing it better than y'all.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to showcase things that I like and love, and it's just another like way for people to dive into like what I'm all about. And so I think for me, fashion is a way to be confident, but also expressive of who I am as an individual. And again, to encourage folks to go out there and do you. Yes, I'm wearing a fur on top of a smoking jacket. Like, you can do that.
Yes.
Like, you don't
You're
have to
doing it.
be me to go do that. You can do it. Anyone can do it. Everyone needs to have one Versace robe at home. At some point, you need to have one. And I know it may sound crazy, but
Versace,
just
if you're
wake up in the
listening.
morning and make your coffee in a Versace robe, and then call me the next day and tell me that wasn't hot. Like,
God
just do
damn it.
I know.
Just thinking
Just do
about it.
And
I'm
again,
like, how do I make this happen?
Versace, if you're listening, connect at terms of
Holler
service
at your boy.
media.
Yeah.
Holler
We
at
out
your boy.
here.
Yes.
Oh, that's okay. So my joke, my running joke about that is people will look at the things that I wear and they're like, "You look like I allowed my 3-year-old daughter to dress herself today." Shout out to Rick. He made that comment to me many a times. But also my response to that is, yeah, but I look good in it.
Right.
You know why? Because of the confidence. And my number one like accessory, I always say, is my skin color.
Yep.
Because I can get away with wearing some shit
Yeah.
because it's like multifaceted.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and people think that it's because of confidence, but it's because of my ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know.
And the thing is, like, a lot of when we talk about like ancestral work, we've been doing this for a lifetime. We've been cooking, we've been making beverages, we've been being hospitable to those around us. We've built entire
No questions asked.
villages around like specific foods, like wine country. It's called that for a reason. Like anywhere that there is wine, because entire towns would work in these vineyards and it would be like a collaborative work of like, this is how we're going to make money here. And now it's like not as, I don't want to say homey, but it's not as familial as it used to be. And I think that all aspects of the industry need to return to that, like understanding that yes, making money is cool, but the people that make the product better if they feel some sense of attachment or ownership to their craft. And a lot of places don't have that anymore. A lot of people don't have that anymore.
I will say a couple years ago, I was in San Francisco, got invited up to a winery in Napa, and it was absolutely amazing because they focused on everything that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And that was really surprising, and I just thought it was beautiful. And it's not something that is within the budget. Shout out to Vakita Webb.
Yes.
It is something that I will always be mindful of, because I'm just like, that's the type of, like, that's what I want to support. And when we get there, we going there.
Yep.
And they have me for life.
Yeah.
So
100%. I mean, I think wanted to touch back on one of the things you said is like confidence. Why do I need so much confidence every day? Well, because every single day as a person of color in this industry and in this world, we are being tested every single time we interact with somebody. So that confidence is so important to be able to have in our back pockets, and we are battle hardened and tested in order to get to where we are. And I think about them as so many folks that reached a certain point and then, it was too much for them. So I can't let those situations happen any further. I will not let it happen, and I'll show how we can break through that. And hopefully that question or that needing for that need for approval at some point we don't have to worry about it anymore, and we can just be ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the dream, right?
yeah,
That is a dream. I think I'm
that
here.
is the dream. Yes.
I think that's where I'm at, not by choice, more a circumstance. I have no choice but to believe in myself. My therapist has made that abundantly clear, and I'm trying to change the way that I look at the world, because it's been very like glass half empty. I'm like, there's not a whole lot of greatness going on. But what I've learned in the last year specifically is that ain't nobody believing in you unless you believe in yourself.
That's right.
And even when I felt like I didn't believe in myself, y'all have been here to hype
We got
bitch
you.
up. Thank you so much. And I
Yes.
think another part of like us moving forward in the industry is like building each other up. I think that doesn't happen a lot, because like we discussed earlier, it's all about like, how can I move forward?
Yeah.
But I think we have to pay attention to the fact that instead of being gatekeepers, we're like, what is a...
You're unifiers.
Yeah.
So.
I was thinking more about the person at Six Flags that takes the like little ticket thing and lets you go into it.
Oh,
you
the
just like
greeter?
The greet. You just have to like welcome people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
instead
greeter.
of being like, nah, this isn't for us.
Right.
So I think that one, you had an experience where you were pushed out of something that you loved. I went to school for art history initially, and literally had a professor tell me that I don't have the connections and I don't have the community, and that like where I came from isn't going to be the best like footing to start with. And like being at the University of Vermont and hearing that, being the only person of color in a 150 person lecture for art history, was like, I already know that I'm on the outside, but then being in the smaller class with only 20 people and having him say that, and I cried in that class, I cried in his office, and he made me cry again when I had to get him to sign off on me dropping the class. I took that energy, and when I was presented with that same energy in the culinary world, that was the time where I was like, nope, I'm not gonna give up this other passion of mine because of someone else.
Exactly.
And I think that you're right. It is when you get to a point where you have to like push past what the world is telling you, and you have to make a space for yourself.
Unapologetically.
And I think that
No fucks given.
Yeah.
At all. At all.
And
Period.
especially with like my knowledge of wine growing and being able to like make dishes that I could then confidently say goes with this wine was like one of my top moments as a chef. Being like
That's awesome.
able to confidently be like, no, you do not want a Pinot Grigio with this. I would say she's more of a Chardonnay, but like I felt fancy doing that. Also introducing wine to like people that I've dated has been like my number one thing, because they're like, I don't know nothing, and I'm like, I know everything.
You're like, let me help you out here.
Yeah, that's a deal breaker for me. You know, I gotta thankfully. My sugar mama lets me do my thing.
Oh my god!
And,
Hi, Paige.
You know, for the longest time, she was just so like, just go do your wine thing. And it was actually not until our honeymoon. We did our honeymoon in Spain.
She's amazing.
And she let me schedule one winery visit the whole time we were there on our honeymoon. And I was like, fair. Okay, I get it. She'd never been to a winery before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not about to take over this trip that's about us for the wine thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, we're going to be outside Barcelona. Like, I got to go to Peñeras. I got to go see some bubbles. And so I hit up Pepe Reventos and from Reventos y Blanc. And they welcomed me and Paige, and we spent like 3 hours there. And what was so amazing and incredible for me is I see my partner asking all the questions and like really diving into it. Like, whoa, this is so interesting. Like, why is it this way? And oh my God, I never knew this is how it's done. And I'm like, all right, here's the door.
Yeah.
You know, let's now you just walk through it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's incredible to have the support of a partner that is not in the wine business, but also understands my passion, but is also like exploring her own, like, you know, passion in wine and understanding kind of why it works. But I think ultimately for me, it's like, it just shows that wine is an amazing connector.
Mm-hmm.
You could not know anything about wine, and then in one sip or 2 sips fall in love. And then now you're asking all these questions as to why, because you need to know why this is so good.
Yeah.
And I try to find that spark in each and every person that I meet, so that, because I know it's there, you know?
Yeah. So there's a ton of people that like, oh, I could never know anything about wine. Like, well, you know what? Let's figure out a place to start.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, shout out to my mom when I was younger than I am now. You know, New Year's Eve, blah blah blah. You want to have a taste of this wine? And I was like, sure. Gross. It was gross. But also, I've talked to my mom about this numerous times. It's, one, I was inexperienced, but then 2, remember the thing that, like, it will never leave me, the thing that I hated the most about it.
Okay.
So therefore, anytime that I have a wine described to me or I'm learning about a wine, I know what to pay attention to. And my mom, like, you know, she's not fancy. She's fancy. So I'm just like, okay, Dolores, chill. But anyhow,
that was your wine trigger.
Yeah, that was my wine trigger. And you know, I realized I don't like cheap shit.
Yeah.
You know? So thanks, Mom. You know, but also cheap shit isn't necessarily like the price point. It's in which it's stored. It's within the way that it's served.
Cutting corners, sloppy.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Things that aren't, you know, produced with integrity.
Yep.
And produced with care. And that ultimately is part of the wine service aspect of the industry.
Correct.
So it's, again,
we should be only offering wines that fit a lot of those molds. And I think that's why, you know, having a wine shop or a restaurant that has someone that you connect with and you agree with their values can be so valuable for the consumer. We talked about how impossible it is for them to find and explore new things. Go and find a wine shop that's local, that you really enjoy their energy. Go and find a restaurant that has the vibe and energy that you like as well, and ask questions.
Yeah.
And that's really what we as professionals are hoping you do, is just ask questions and give us an opportunity to share what we think. And you don't need to agree with me. That's completely okay. Yeah. I want you to be able to learn what you agree on. And I want you to be able to feel more empowered to ask more questions, but also be like, I like this because I had this. Do you have anything else like it? You know, or do you have this? And I think that is ultimately what we're trying to create, is that level of authenticity, integrity, and community all together.
Fit. It's a fit.
It's me.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's
I
fun.
love it. Absolutely. So I do want to circle back a little bit and return the conversation to some of the inequities within the wine sector specifically, and just bring to light any sort of initiatives or causes that are really committed to trying to like bridge that divide. And I will confidently say it, just based off of my experience, that the wine experience and the wine perspective is, again, extremely white. It is extremely privileged, and it is extremely protected.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made it hard to kind of navigate it, but I'm really inspired by those that do. And I believe myself and everyone that's listening would love to know the things that are going on outside of the bottle and outside of the glass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think when everything, went down last summer, for me, it was a big reset of like, I need to be more vocal. It was like, yo, I can't let this shit keep going.
Right.
And I need to use my voice as a platform to help other people speak up, because I'm in a position now, thankfully, where I know that our family owner and the winery and the whole team have my back 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, they want me to be able to feel confident that I can share how I'm feeling and call it as I see it, frankly.
Yeah.
Because there is no wine future without us being inclusive at the table.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I can't leave this professional industry feeling like I didn't do my best or I didn't try my all to make more space at the table for others that didn't have a voice or were in a place where they didn't feel like they had the right to have a voice. Because I was there at one point.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young, I knew I was just kind of figuring it out. I didn't have the balls, I guess you could say, to speak up, but also like we had all this overarching gatekeeper shit going on that said, no, you need to stay in your lane and you need to stay quiet and you need to do the things the way it's always been done, which is fine. But we're in a different place now. And I think what we've also seen is that the last 15 years of staying in your lane does not change a goddamn thing.
No.
That's right.
And so if we don't speak up about things that need to be changed, or more importantly, things that are happening behind closed doors, no one is ever going to fucking know it.
Yeah.
So if I cannot stress any more than what I learned last year is that I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I know others out there listening are not alone. And that my story is probably very fucking similar to your story.
Yeah.
And we can all agree that that shit should never, ever happen and does not deserve a place in our industry. So I've been very proud to connect with folks that I'd never met, but I've always wanted to meet in person. But we just were like, yo, I've always wanted to meet you. I'm sending you a note. Let's get on the phone and chat.
Mm-hmm.
Or vice versa. Somebody would send me a DM and say, yo, I really love what you're doing. Would love to learn more about you. And I would say, absolutely, I'm going to make time. I'm going to make time to connect with you because honestly, at this point, that's the most important thing we can do is galvanize our community, make room for everybody, and literally put all the business on the street.
Yep.
Because if this is public knowledge, this shit ain't happen ever again. That's the way I see it.
That's that
I'm going to
accountability
say
right
yes.
there.
I'm going to say yes. My brain is like, but no, I need to understand that like the change happens from you making the decision to think differently and then acting on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't like be out here being like, no, be different, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm tired. Like, no. Like, and I know I've referenced this before. In 2016, when Beyonce became black, I too was like, shit, I am not someone from Trinidad. I am a black person because here they're only seeing this. You know, they're not like, you're from this. Well, they do. There's a whole thing
Beyonce
of
is
like,
black now.
as soon as I'm like, oh, I'm from Trinidad, they're like, oh, you're so great at put in something that will be racist as soon as you finish a sentence. And it's like, no, we have to work together to create new spaces and narratives for everyone. And I can't do that if I'm like, I'm not American. So right now I'm like, I'm finna be American as hell because I'm about to apply for my citizenship.
Okay.
So,
Let's go.
it's a safety thing. It's a safety thing. Because you cannot be foreign here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Pouring of the bubbles.
Yes.
Like a professional or something.
Yeah, we have.
Done it a couple times.
This is
I feel
This
like
is
we should
so good.
let.
this is so good. Can you
Can you do the
please,
honors?
like tell us what we're drinking, like the history? Like, I mean, we've spoken one-on-one, but
Yeah.
let's share it.
So we're tasting today the Brut Reserve by Charles Heitzig. We're a small producer, historical house that is French family owned. Started in 1851 by a gentleman, Charles Heitzig himself. And his vision was to show champagne in a light that's never been seen before. And more importantly, create a standard that most people wouldn't be daring enough to achieve. And that standard is aged wine.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have here is the balance of wine that's been in a tank for 10, 15 years, blended with a wine that was made from a year of harvest, from a recent year of harvest. So you have this depth, complexity, power of these aged reserve wines. And then you have this vibrant, pop and pizzazz and lightning bolt of energy from a base vintage, which is a current year, more recent year. When we put those two together, we add yeast in the bottle, we add sugar in the bottle. The byproduct there is carbon dioxide, and we let that process happen over many years. So this bottle that we're having, it took us 4 years with the yeast in the bottle to create this silky texture of bubbles. It's like velvet. You know that saying, what is this, velvet? I'm like, yeah, no, that's for real.
Yeah.
That's what we do at Charles. So
Your voice sounded like velvet to me, but go
Yeah.
on. Yep.
I have a thing for texture, and I think this wine for me is the ultimate sensual stimulus. It smells amazing, it looks amazing, and it feels good. So, that's what Charles is all about. That's what compels me to this wine every time I open a bottle. This is our flagship wine. About 80% every year is made of this. This is the hardest wine for us to make because it takes so many years to make that aged reserve wine in the blend. But at the same time, this is actually our most affordable wine. So you'll find this on the shelf for about $60, $65. So a wine that took 21 years to make for $65. Tell me I'm not out here with something special in my pocket. Right?
I thought you were about to hit me with the old razzle dazzle, but then you hit me with that affordability.
This is like,
that lifestyle.
Yep.
it's the culture in the glass
Mhm.
right now
Mhm.
because, wow. Damn. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I mean, for me, champagne was my first love. When I started learning about wine, I had 2 champagnes one night, and I was so disappointed with the first one that I opened the second bottle. And after I finished that second bottle, which was delicious, I went back to the first one just to be nosy, and it was completely different, and it was incredible now. And I was like, wait, so champagne is like a wine? How is this possible? So I think a lot of times the consumer thinks champagne is something different. No, this is just fermented grapes from the region of Champagne. We're about an hour outside of Paris. We sit on a chalk body deposit that, from a millennia ago. So you have this chalky earthiness that the vine's growing. And that is really the secret to our success is the climate, the soil, and the patience that it takes to make a wine like this.
Hell yeah.
I'm looking at Naribo the whole time that you've been speaking.
And I've just been looking at you like,
It's
I mean,
amazing.
Why some people tell me that they don't like champagne is baffling to me.
Agreed.
It reminds me of like someone saying, I don't like Chardonnay. Well, you just haven't found the right Chardonnay.
I
don't-
challenge
found the
you.
right champagne.
I challenge you to give me the right Chardonnay because
got
I've been
you.
out here.
It's called
Wait,
Montrachet.
Okay.
Yes. Well, yeah. That's the,
Let's go.
Not.
I
not
mean,
the,
You could also
not
say
trying to be like
oh,
all bougie and all that, but yeah, that's the only Chardonnay I'll drink.
So I mean, I think that's the beauty of wine is it is an ultimate barrier breaker. And we talked earlier about how I had to become that barrier breaker on my own with my identity and how I wanted to interact with consumers. But I had this special sauce, which is great wine. great wine, I think, can defeat all, just like love, right?
Yes.
You know,
Right.
it's one of those things that
With the accoutrement of a great drip. too.
absolutely,
So
it is.
I feel like I'm being hit with the old razzle dazzle like 9,000 times in this conversation, or it could be like,
it could be the bubbles.
it could be Charles.
Yo,
Hit Charles.
I mean, I think what really is exciting is that, you know, just like art or cuisine or movie, cinema, you know, wine is a common thread that everyone, regardless of your background or your language, can identify with in some sort of way. So I love it.
I know.
Amazing.
If you just
Yeah.
want to like ask your own questions and continue talking, because I'm
gonna
learning
ask you, I'm
so
gonna
much.
ask you a
about-
question.
Yeah.
After you take a sip, what does this wine make you think of after you've taken a sip and you let it like marinate for a bit?
Okay. This is like my first thought.
Yep.
Do you remember Juicy Juice in a can?
Mm.
Specifically the apple juicy juice
Okay.
in a can, but like not the sweet parts of it, the tart part of it. That's like it's hitting being 7 in Boston and playing with some random white kids that my aunt used to nanny for.
I cannot
And,
with you.
No, I'm serious. Like that is what it is reminding me of.
And
Sorry.
this is why it's so important to talk about wine,
Right.
because you learn so much about yourself and the others learn so much about you
Yes.
just through a glass of wine. And
Yes.
I'm over here thinking about Lake Como and like, you know, an Italian little like Riviera boat. And you're over here like, this is
I
a
want to be thinking
personal
about some of
memory.
that too. Yeah.
You know, I think that's what's so fascinating is that we all will find different things in each and every sip.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's so personal. And so
Yeah.
when somebody tells you no, you're not right, you know they're full of shit,
Right.
because that's not possible for there to be a right or a wrong answer.
Right.
It's personal.
Right.
There's no way you can tell me that I'm wrong when this is my feeling and this is
Right.
my truth.
Yes.
So thank you for taking us to that memory. That's so special.
Thank you. I thought
Air
it was some weird
cheers.
shit.
Yep.
Air cheers.
Boom.
Still in a Ponderosa. I would like to briefly touch upon, you know, you've been in this industry for quite a bit of time, and I'm interested to know, how do you balance, you know, being in the wine world with, you know, overall wellness, overall just like
Hell yeah.
restriction in consumption.
Mhm.
We as we talked about briefly, we here at Terms of Service, we are not a sober platform, but we are a sober forward platform. So we are very grateful for our spirit free partners and also our spirited partners. And we always want to, you know, have that conversation, or at least touch upon it, about like, you know, alcohol abuse is a real thing.
Yep.
We're not going into that right now, but specifically just the overall balance between your line of work and making sure that you're taking care of numero uno.
You know, I remember hearing from a lot of my family being like, yo, like, are you good on this wine thing? Like, are you okay? Or, you know, I remember my grandma asking me, she'll don't drink too much wine. Don't drink too much wine. And, you know, I see this first and foremost. This all started from my parents. You know, wine was always on the table and I had respect for it because it was something of great importance and it took a lot of dedication to make it, rather than just serving a purpose of, you know, getting me tipsy or getting me, you know, to what I needed to feel. So I think that is something that my parents instilled in me. That was a level of privilege, obviously, that I got to explore from a young age. I also see it very much as a business. You know, this is a business of privilege. I get to work with something that I adore and I respect so much that I'm not out here to abuse it. Like, there's a way to have that balance, and there's a cool way to make it fun and exciting, way more than the abuse side of it. And if we can have fun and do it like smooth then like we're good. But that balance, I think, is really important. And I've seen so many people struggle with it. I've been really fortunate to not have to, I think, worry with some or have those challenges that other people have. And at the same time, like, I adore this, but, you know, I think my wife always jokes, she's like, I've never seen you drunk. And while that's completely not true, I take pride in the fact that, like, I'm always in service. Like, when I have friends over, I'm always pouring them wine, and then I'm pouring myself. And, like,
Yes.
I'm always making sure that they're taken care of first, whether we're out at the club or if we're, at home. Like, that's just hospitality through and through. That was built into my DNA by my parents.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I think I couldn't provide that level of service if I was fucked up. So I knew that I had to have a balance of it. Like, yes, did I ever have a cocktail on the job, or did I ever have a half glass of wine because that was really fucking good? Yes, absolutely. But I knew there was a limit. And more importantly, I knew the time and place to relax. And then more importantly, I was always driving too.
Yeah.
So like, I knew right away that like I couldn't mess around with that shit. That was not possible, you know, for me. So to lose that privilege of transportation was like not acceptable. So I'd never really felt comfortable to put myself in that position. And I mean, after my very early 20s, I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, you know, I'm just
same.
Yeah.
You know, I respected it so much more.
Your dedication to the craft of it all is like super, super inspiring, and also really like commendable, because it often is and can easily be a slippery slope. And I was going to ask about, you know, your self-care within this space, but it sounds like to me specifically that your self-care is like your discipline and your dedication to what you're doing.
But I'm also going to say, like, what is your number one self-care situation?
No, it's like, we're going to talk
about self-care.
Yes. Honestly, it's been therapy. I mean, therapy has been eye-opening for me over the last 2 years. Mental health has something that I've just neglected for a long time.
We do that heavy in this industry.
Yes.
Yo, I struggled with it all through high school and in college when all that shit popped off, you know, and it was never really addressed until probably, you know, a few years ago. And it's been a lifesaver in many ways, because I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about the challenges that I have to overcome on my own. And then more importantly, it helps me to understand the type of support that I need from my, you know, my close circle. But there's always work to be done. I think the previous generations of ours, I think, never talked about anything, right?
No.
Right.
So it was always internalized. And while
God
that
forbid if you
served its
challenge them
purpose,
on anything,
it creates more problems.
Right.
And we're the product of those internalized
that
I
aren't
think,
actually talked about.
generations.
Yeah.
So
creates
think-
more
I
problems
think-
that you don't talk about. Yeah.
For me, it's definitely the mental health is a huge first step of me being, I think, a better version of myself.
Yeah.
I think I've always been very strict and very disciplined when it comes to, you know, substance and celebrating, you know, the balance. But I will say that the final piece that I really struggle with is my physical health. This industry, this lifestyle takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
And I have, unfortunately, like, I don't put in the discipline aspect on the work that I should probably on my physical, you know, strength. And that's a final barrier that I feel like I'm reaching towards. I know it's also a way that I kind of self-inflict a lot of the pain that I am still struggling with from my, you know, early adulthood and, you know, some of the things that I'm working through in therapy. So it's a challenge for sure. But, you know, if I'm, you know, that's something that I have to keep pushing on. Yeah.
I went to school for social work, so all I do is think about mental health all the time, and I realized that, like, in working in kitchens / in the industry in general, people don't talk about that shit. Specifically, they don't talk about it if like they know that someone else is going to hear it. So I made it a point, like once I started like moving up in the industry, to always ask people about their mental health.
Mhm.
And people used to be like, oh, like, why are we talking about feelings and emotions? I'm like, we're not talking about feelings and emotions. We're talking about the fact that since you walked in here, no one has wanted to like approach you. And this is a prep team.
Mhm.
Right.
And like, so, you know, talking about our struggles at work has been a thing that we have pushed aside for a long time. But I
And
think
acknowledging your struggles
Exactly.
at work is like a real thing as well.
And so I always like made space for, if you're not feeling like you can be here today, you need to tell me, because all of the energy that you put into everything you do, people can taste that shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
People can feel it. It changes
Yeah.
the vibe and the energy. And like mental health days, I wish someone told me that that was a thing that I could do, because I was working like, at one point I would be working 14 days straight between my first job and my side hustle.
Yep.
And no one at Michelin level restaurant job gave a shit about the fact that I had to do this other thing.
No.
And I think that if we humanize each other and we talk about like the things that we're feeling, people will, one, feel less alone. And two, it sort of like builds a sense of camaraderie that we are more than just our jobs.
Exactly. And that just hit me right in the goddamn gut.
Gah!
Because I feel like as black and brown people, we naturally have to have our guards up, and having that humanizing dialogue, that humanizing conversation, or even that acknowledgement in which, you know, you're sharing similar energy, it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, shit.
and
Ugh.
I know, like, I mean, and that's why I bring it up, because I'm guilty of it, because I'm just like, oh, okay, well, like, I have to like handle all of that shit. Let me like focus here, and then let me go ahead and do that. And then it's just like, it takes a physical toll. And then it's just like, you're having a phone call and you get like super aggravated. Speaking of which, I got an email a couple days ago in response to something that I'm working on, and it said that they were taking a mental health day, which was amazing to me. That was absolutely amazing. But
My
so,
therapist has taken 2 weeks off, and I clapped.
that's amazing.
I was like, I'll be fine.
Yes, for sure. And as we're wrapping up here, Philippe, is there any sort of, like, what would you say to those that are interested in this aspect of the industry? You know, like, what would you like to close with that?
I mean, I think this is my motto going forward is be yourself, ask questions, and don't take no for an answer. You know,
Goddamn right.
It's there's room for everyone in this industry. The people that put their blood, sweat, and tears into how these wines are made do not want you to be left behind. And I think of that because there are a lot of layers of gatekeepers, whether it's in sales or marketing or spaces, that are going to tell you that you're probably not welcome at some point. But at the end of the day, it's up to you and your community to basically look beyond that, because they're just a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
And there is a community out there that does want you. There's a community out there that wants to celebrate you. And there's a community out there that will let you lead.
Yeah.
And if I can do anything is to inspire others to keep pushing. I'm going to push, but I know that there's going to be others out there that are, you know, smarter, stronger, and more fun than I am.
But
We just need
damn
to
fun.
we need to give them a place to feel welcome, to want to stay in our industry and to do great things. That's the way I look at it.
find the
Awesome.
joy. To find the
Amazing.
joy.
Amazing. I do have an extra credit question from you.
Okay.
And I believe it's coming from our producer Max. How do you drip so damn hard, sir?
How do I drip so hard?
How?
I think it goes
We
back
touched
to
upon it, but just it's still just every time.
It's just, I think it's about being, taking the experiences that I had from my parents, from my family, for the ability to have like all of those in my Rolodex, and then be me.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to be me and to be confident about me, and not be apologetic about me being me, I think is really the ultimate drip, and that everyone has.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just a matter of finding your drip or your version of your drip. And have fun with it. That's what we're here for. We're here to have fun.
Yep.
My
And
drip is
if
flannel
wine isn't
flan.
fun, then we're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is a perfect place to end this. Thank you so much. How was your time? How did you feel?
I mean, this feels great. I think we still have 30 more hours to go.
Yeah, more,
so
more or less.
hour number
So,
3.
we could,
Yes.
we can start from the top if you would like. But how do people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My name is Nicksom, Niquesomm. You can find me there. I'm very active on it. I'll show you what I'm up to. You'll see pictures of my cat, probably.
What's your cat's name?
My cat's name is Luna de la Vega.
Sorry.
She's part of the Zorro family. So yeah, and she's a lover of champagne, particularly vintage champagne.
Love that.
So you can find her on Instagram as well at Luna_de_la_Vega.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yes. There is. But yeah, I'm based in Chicago, but I travel when the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
I hope to find you all, in Trinidad, maybe with some champagne.
Shit.
I would love to do that. I've never been.
Let's
So
do
I
a dinner
think,
in Trinidad.
I think we need to do a dinner in Trinidad.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
But thank you guys so much for creating this platform and for having me and, having an open discussion about a topic that is often overlooked and often forgotten about or never even told. So thank you guys so much for the privilege of being here.
Thank you for coming and blessing us, 1, with your presence, 2, your knowledge, and 3, with your drip.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, so it's the full checklist
Yes.
over here. And
I woke up like
naturally-
this.
Yeah. Yes. And naturally, I would love to, thank Blind Barber Chicago for hosting this necessary conversation.
Ashley
Also,
Christine.
Shout out to Ashley Christine of Garnet. And last but not least, Max, our producer, who is our guiding light.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Justin Arnett Graham. You can find me on What's Beco, WHATSBECO. And stay golden out there, my friends.
It's me, your girl, Nariba, and I'm out. You can find me at Rebaroo on the gram. Let us know how you're feeling. Have a good one.